First of all, sir, could you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Semiu Okanlawon, the Director of Bureau of Communications and Strategy, the Office of the Governor
Of Osun State.
Osun State.
Okay.
We call it the Xclusivenigeria Okanlawon, State of the Virtuous.
That's right. Could you tell us what would you say have been the highlights of the achievements of Governor Rauf Aregbesola in the 9 months or so he's been in power?
Well, it's actually over a year now because Mr. Governor came in November 27, 2010, right? And when he came in, of course, the state was in a state of was on what you could call the precipice. There was depression in the minds of the people having gone through almost 80 years of lack of governance. People who were here lacked vision, lacked focus. There were no programs, people-oriented programs and all that. So, and it was intimidation, harassment, lack of focus, lack of economic development, state of infrastructure had gone to the dogs. So, it was a very big task for Mr. Governor when he came in. But there wouldn't be any reason for him to vie for the governorship of the state in the first place if all these challenges were not being noticed. So it was something that he was well prepared for. And right from the first day, he set at work to make sure that there is total transformation of the state. And the first thing he did was to first of all create an identity for the states and to first of all create that sense of belonging for the people. You needed to ginger people to see that there is a new government in place and that there is a new order. So there was this rebranding project, which was actually necessary for us to be able to take off. We now change the name of the state, the epithet to Xclusivenigeria Okanlawon, the State of the Virtuous, because we discovered that for many years the issue of moral decadence had been part of lack of economic development. You see, no investor will come around in a place where people are so depressed, where there's no focus, where people have thrown values to the dogs. The values of our people, don't forget this is the southwest part of Nigeria, habited by Yoruba people. And we believe that this is even where, this is where the world begins. You have Ile-Ife, the cradle of the Yoruba, and when we also believe this is the origin of the human race here. So we began with rebranding, which was to create new value for our people, new identity for our people. And after that, of course, we look at the area of education and we saw that, look, education had gone to the dogs. The state of infrastructure in all the schools, classrooms, teaching, the morale of the teachers, the students, failure rate was alarming. Of course, we called for an education summit. It was at that summit that we experts, stakeholders came to the conclusion that, look, drastic measures must be taken to ensure that we return the state to that of pride as far as the issue of education is concerned. And I tell you, about 10 months after that summit, now, people are already seeing the changes. All the dilapidated schools, the classrooms and all that, they have been earmarked for total reconstruction. Total reconstruction. We are restructuring the education system and all that. So people are seeing that already at Alikuwodo area of Osogbo, which is the state capital, already has reached an advanced stage as far as the construction of a new set of classrooms are concerned. And not only that, a new set of teachers are being bred to tally with the kind of development in the infrastructure. That is as far as the issue of education is concerned. By the time we came in here, we noticed that the state was in a condition of filth. Filth everywhere. You see sand on the road. You see wheels along the medians and all that. Nobody cared for anything. People were falling sick, cholera everywhere. That was what led to the declaration of a 90-day emergency sanitation. And behold, before the expiration of the 90-day emergency period, the state had become so many visitors who now came, people from the Nigerian Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, when they visited, Eminent Nigerians, when they visited this place, they now know that, look, there is a difference here. The Oshobo, the Osun that they used to know is no longer the current, in its former state. We have a program called the Urban Renewal Project, which we call O-Urban, which is going to give facelift to all our urban centers. And then so many, of course, who are also visionary enough to discover that, look, if nothing was done to dredge the rivers, the rate of rain, the degree of rain that we're going to witness was likely to cause disaster. Before we came in, a year before, it was tragedy galore for people living along streams, rivers, and all that across the state. So because of that, the governor saw the vision. Look, if nothing is done, we're going to have a tragedy on our hand. And that was why the deflooding channelization project was awarded before the rain even came in. And when the rain started, well, we thank God. While some other places in Nigeria were lamenting the tragedies that befell them, we have cause to glorify God at least that we have an administration that is visionary enough to know that, look, they have to do something before the tragedy struck. So that is as far as, and in addition to that, so many other projects. You have, of course, the governor had promised even before he came to power that because of the alarming rate of unemployment, youth idleness and all that, he would ensure the employment of 20,000 youths, which is the first of its kind anywhere in Nigeria. It was even at that time they were looking for the logistics for the implementation of that program. And we discovered that no part of Nigeria has the capacity to train 20,000 youths at once. So, but God, then this was a feat that was achieved. 20,000 youths, people who had graduated for 5 years, 6 years, masters, second class, upper, first class, not having job for 5, 6 years. And so when they all came, they know that, look, the amount they were being paid, they are paid 10,000 naira per month, is nothing. But at least it is good enough for them to have something to do. We call it volunteer. We call them volunteers. We call them volunteers. We call them volunteers. We call it OYES, which is Osun Youth Employment Scheme. OYES. So, and I tell you, that scheme has had high impact in the society. Virtually everywhere you go to this part of the state, you see members of the OYES. They engage people. They try to clear the streets. They engage in control of traffic. They engage in they help people, accident victims. They engage in traffic control. They engage in so many other social activities. And you see, before you know it, the scheme has become the talking to the extent that even the World Bank has said that that scheme is worth adoption because it has the capacity to relieve Nigeria of most of its unemployment burden.
Okay, I want to ask a question, sir.
Okay.
Considering the impulse which the government met when you came in,
Yeah.
how were you able to raise funds for this development without actually putting the burden on the people of the state?
Yeah, well, we see, maybe what I even ought to have even told you that when part of the burden we met on ground was a burden of debts.
I know that.
Before this administration came,
Yeah.
there was a burden of an 18.3 billion naira,
Okay.
which this government met on ground. And on a monthly basis, the former administration was borrowing 1 billion naira to pay salaries of workers. But due to the ingenuity, the financial ingenuity, financial engineering skills of the current administration, thanks to the governor, we've been able to turn that around. Not only we have refinanced the loan, but we have also gone ahead to acquire more money for even development projects. As I'm talking to you, this state does not have less than 35 billion naira in its kitty. And of course, you know that when the state government composed of 35 billion naira in its kitty, then it can use that even to leverage, to even get some other financial institutions to even buy into a development project. So, in a way, what was a financial body for the state before we came in, through ingenious financial engineering, we have been able to turn it into a fortune. As from a state that was groaning under the burden of an 18.3 billion naira debt, we have become a state that at least can beat its chest and say, look, even in the next 1-2 years, if the federal government does not believe that we can pay the salaries of our workers and engage in development projects, very soon you are going to see transformations in our roads, in schools, and all that.